Well, in honor of the theme of awkwardness, here is a story about my first ever stalker. Back when I was in college, I'd taken an anthropology course as part of my campaign to have super cool classes where I could get super cool ideas for my plays and stories. At the end of each anthro class, we were supposed to do a presentation on an anthropological study of our choosing. Now, since I was stuck over in Lancaster, it was a little difficult to do stuff like getting stoned with savages or coming of age in Samoa, or the competitive gift-giving culture of Mount Etna, or the topless Polynesian women you always see in National Geographic. So I had to improvise. There were some people who did first, second, and third generation Chinese immigrants. There were some people who did a project on the kinds of tattoos you get. And I did a study of who buys books in bookstores. According to my study, I found that Borders, Books, and Music was populated by everyone but 30 and 40-year-olds who could get better prices on Amazon. I also found that the teens to 20-year-olds and the 40 and up crowd tended to hang out, drink coffee, and just chill in the cafe. And the older people were a lot more conversational than the younger people. Some of them to a disconcerting degree. There was this one guy who was either a postal worker or between jobs. I know he was a postal worker at one point. And he always spoke like he had a bad cold. And he talked about how wonderful it was that I talked to him because most people my age would just ignore him. And after he asked what I studied, where I lived, the street name, the address, the email and phone number, I could see why. Finally, he asked for the name. Ashley, I said. And from then on, I was Ashley, born and raised in Lancaster, studying anthropology at Millersville University. Everywhere else my real name was fine, but around the Borders, Books and Music, with the shouting baristas, I had to be Ashley. My parents would come up to visit, and I would drill them so they'd know that in the bookstores I was Ashley. And sometimes I'd see him hanging out in the cafe, so I'd move my observations to the children's section or the stationery section. Anthro study went pretty well, and next semester my parents and my grandma came up and we decided to celebrate by going to where else but Borders. It was a few months since I did Anthro, and I went there on a Saturday night, so I was ready to throw the whole Ashley thing behind. And then, when I was waiting for my drink in the corner of the cafe, I hear a congested voice calling, "Ashley! Ashley!" There was the postman in his ripped windbreaker. And yes, the postman did call twice. Instinctively, I sidled up to my grandmother, the relative in closest proximity to me. He came over and introduced himself. "You have a wonderful granddaughter, you know," he said to her, then turned to me. "You know, I noticed that you come here on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5:30. There was no way this conversation could end well. "And I remembered that you were studying creative writing." Oh, sweet Jesus. I thought I told him I was an anthro. When did he find out about this? "So I was wondering if you wanted to come over to my place and read some of my work, you know, tell me what it's like." "Sorry, can't. Busy that day." "Well, maybe you could come over on the weekend or a Friday." "Sorry, don't have the time." "I mean, I'm free all week." "Sorry, can't. No, bye." I went back to the barista, told her to cross out whatever name she wrote on the side of the cup and replace it with Ashley. I paid for the drink. The family paid for their books. We got in the car, drove back to campus. We never went back to that bookstore again. And with that, I realized that I just gave away the name I used to fend off creepers in front of an audience of like hundreds. So, from now on, if you're a creeper or a stalker, then you can call me Lauren.
I'm never going to use the name Lauren.